Buying or selling a home is one of the most important decisions you'll make in your entire life. Call the Holly Ritchie team today for a free market analysis.
Hi, this is Spanning the Need, Stories from Your Lifestyle. I'm Anthony Spano, the host, and I'm here with the Democratic nominee for the 6th District, Lou Lyras. How are you today?
I'm fine.
Thank you for joining us, and we're going to talk a lot about everything that has to do with the 6th District and everything. And we know it's not a presidential year, but however, we still important races throughout Ohio, especially in the Valley here. But I think no matter if you disagree or agree, there's been new boundaries that have been drawn by the state. And we talk about the merging of some of the 13th District, which was Congressman Tim Ryan's district, and now the new 6th District combined. Kind of talk about and introduce yourself, because people may not know or where you come from. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, that's no problem. I'll do the short version. Born 1950, Camel, Ohio, Youngstown. Graduated Camel Memorial High School 1968. Went to college, Ohio State, 1972. Started my painting company 1976, actually end of 1975. And since then, I've been working mostly doing painting infrastructure, bridges, power plants. And by the mid-'80s, most of my work was pretty much pushed over to the New York, Philadelphia area. During that mid-'80s, I was also that's when I got involved with many of the environmental issues. And we actually, my brothers and I and a few partners that were here, we formed a company where we manufactured recycling equipment that pretty much changed the whole industry. It changed the coating industry. And at that same time, I was working with OSHA, EPA, our unions, closely with our unions, and the other state environmental groups to make this the rule, because it was the better way to do it. And that's going forward from there was pretty much the painting and what I'm doing now.
So a traveling business, pretty much. Here locally.
I've been, most of my work in the last 30 years has been New York, Philadelphia, and the large structures like the Ben Franklin, the Verrazano. Most of my work is there. With the equipment company, I had the good fortune of traveling to Asia, China 2 times, Singapore, Australia, and that too was eye-opening, because you're there, you're seeing these things. And about 6 years ago, I decided that this is time to get involved, as we were talking about it earlier. I really do want to get involved. I'm 71. I'm still of good mind. I'm comfortable. My wife, family, everybody's here in Youngstown. So I think this is a time to now put the business part a little bit away and get involved in politics.
Well, and I think that's a great question. Is what drove you to get into politics? You want to help, but why politics?
Well, what is the best way we can do it? I've always been, even through my business, I've always been environmentally concerned. We built machinery that with the environment in mind. And not only that we built these giant machines that do the sandblasting, that we defined the industry. And even though it cost a lot of money, I proved to the customers in the state that this now is the environmental way to do it, and we created more jobs. More jobs were created doing that in our industry than going the old way, which didn't work anyways.
Yeah, and we talk about that the environmental climate change and just the environmental change in general is really affecting, and if you believe or not believe, I know that there's been research done on both sides, but we look at that as what could be a federal state issue as well.
It is a world issue. It is a federal issue. It is a state issue. it is down to your pocketbook because these environmental climate change is for real. It is not, there's no other side to the story. There is no other side.
Well, and I think, let me build on that, is we look at other issues on top of that, that if you look at it, like you mentioned, that there is no other side, okay? So you kind of look at it as a domino effect, that this affects this, this affects this. So you mentioned that issue being federal, state, local. What are some of the other issues, federal, state, that affect the Mahoning Valley and the 6th District?
Well, obviously you know that I'm a union advocate. I work for the unions, but I don't like to say union anymore. I like to say we like collective bargaining agreements, because that's what it's all about. If you're representing teachers, you're representing nurses, or you're representing Amazon, it's people getting together and collectively bargain an agreement, not only for wages, it could be for safe working conditions, better working conditions, hours, pensions, things like that. So I'm big in that. And now up and down the valley, because I remember from in my teens and then later in my early 20s and 30s when I was working in the valley, there's work that we can bring back, especially now with these infrastructure acts. There's money that we could start bringing back to develop this again. And I don't mean the Steel Valley, I mean the Ohio River Valley. This is what we did. We can do this again. The incentives are there, the money is there, and now I think that the government, the federal government, certainly is behind this. I wish that the Republicans would get behind, because I think many of them are, because there's so many wonderful people that need to realize it's about work and making changes here, like that Intel plant or battery plant,
which that Intel is huge,
Exactly.
And so is the new battery plant in Lordstown.
I mean, these are forward-thinking industries that we have to find ways to make sure we bring them here and support it. Remember, not too long ago, that Ohio River Valley, when I was younger, supported almost 25% of all the electricity on the East Coast. So, power generation. There's so many things that we could do, and I will always be thinking of that. I will always be thinking of union jobs, and you know what I meant by union, and making sure that we go forward into next decades, because we have, and all the time we were addressing climate change. So that's in my back of my mind all the time.
Well, and it's funny you say, when we talk about Ohio River Valley, and if people may not know this, that the 6th District is probably about 400 miles.
Yeah.
300, I forget, someone told me it was like 380 some miles. I forget how do you deal with that big of a district? Just long way straight down the Appalachian region and in that Ohio, but how do you really work with that area? Because we look at not just power, but we also look at education, broadband. The pandemic brought a lot of things that really were a big eye opener. We thought there was little problems, but I didn't think we realized how big they really were. So how do you, especially education and broadband, how do you do that moving forward with this thing?
I have been surprised, because I do go to, I think, I'm pretty sure, yes, I have. I've hit every county, some of the county fairs, definitely the Democratic committee meetings, picnics, parades, wherever I can, a few town halls. And I've been, in my town halls, I invite everybody. I don't say just Democrats. I want everybody to come. I've been surprised how much I've learned too. But everything you mentioned are things that they want too. The broadband, education. I'm a big, huge proponent of public education. So this isn't anything new. Environmental concerns up and down the valley. Agriculture. I was at an agriculture meeting not too long ago, and actually I was the only Democrat there, but that's okay.
You
That's
know, it
okay.
is.
You know what? It didn't bother me because I liked what I heard, and I wanted to hear about that. I wanted to hear what they're doing. In fact, I have some conversations with them later about what they were doing with the farm bureaus and programs like that are actually federal programs too, and making that for teaching some inner city children that.
A lot of them community gardens.
Yeah, exactly.
No matter where but to be honest,
And-
nowadays they're pretty much all community gardens
Yeah.
are everywhere.
And I think that's beautiful.
Well, but how do you bring what seems to be the key of bringing additional funding to broadband in schools? Because you look at it as
Part of the infrastructure programs, broadband and money is there. So whether I win or Bill Johnson the money is there. We just have to make sure that we funnel it and make sure that we legislate it too. Obviously, I can't tell you right now. I didn't read the last 720-page. What was the reduction? The deficit
the Inflation Reduction Act. They always love to come up with great names.
Which the title didn't address everything there. I didn't read everything there, but I did pick up snippets and part of it where I wanted to talk about. They're there. These programs are there. The money is there. We have to make sure, whether you're Republican or Democrat, I really don't care. You got to make sure that it gets addressed. It gets here. That we address the needs of these children, of us as a community. There's money there for the farm community. There's money there for the rural communities, the cities, the schools, the hospitals. These are. Let's just get it there. Get it moving.
And we look at those as you talk about public education, which every student is entitled to a free education. And we look at the overall, hopefully that bill can help a lot of people.
The money is there. I am a huge proponent of public education. Not because I went to public education. My father was a painter. The foreman, that's how I get to work, because you're the foreman's son. You got to go to work, whether you liked it or not.
And he was probably the hardest on you.
Yeah.
Than he was anyone else.
But it was public education, and I see it now. We can have good public education, but we got to break more money, spend more money on teachers, spend more money on the programs that are there, spend more money on school books, on computers, and enhance the public education, make it grow where the community school does have heating and air conditioning, HVAC, HVAC, plumbing, cars, mechanics, some of the trades where these kids could at least learn civics, and a background in history and everything else, math, and then go on maybe do trades. Make that part of the education. It's public education. I'm a huge proponent of that.
And we talk about that as we get closer. We're about a month away from the election.
Yep.
What is your game plan for November? I mean, you've been traveling all over the district. What have you kind of been concentrating on?
Right now, we are concentrating on like grassroots type things, because obviously I can't do the commercials that, I'm putting the campaign. I'd say 90% of all the money is mine personally. But it's hard. I can't do now $1 million campaign. So what we're doing is if there's a debate, a forum, a town hall, I go there. If there's a canvassing, I try to go. If there's the Democratic picnics or any other picnic, I'm trying to get out there. We're trying to put out as many signs as we can. Obviously, social network like the Facebook, the website, and I always encourage people to go on that, the Twitter and those things, those venues. And right now, that's getting across. Those are things that, if it's 20, 30, or 40, 50 grand, I'll do that. But that's the way that I'm trying to get my message across as much as possible. Because you're going to read it.
Right.
Someone else will read it. They'll share it. There's two views. It's mine and Bill Johnson's.
Yeah.
My Democratic view of this and the Republican view.
Yeah, that's kind of how everyone likes to. It's just what they say and what their response is to whatever that would be. What do you feel are the major issues in the 6th District that are kind of top on your list?
Okay, I should say that's an excellent question. Everybody says that, but I won't do that. You know what I feel that to me, being a business person, an entrepreneur, yes, schools are top of my list, but I really think it's the jobs, well-paying jobs, with good benefits. That's what I think, because that will elevate the middle class. That'll bring the middle. It'll let it grow. That I think I see that poverty. I do see it up and down the valley where I'm going when I'm traveling a lot of places. I see that, and we need to bring more work here and bring more funding. Well, obviously that kind of funding.
And we talk about that you look at as much funding comes from the federal government. Within, you talked about agricultural programs from the bureaus, the infrastructure bill. But does that solve all of our problems?
But it's a step.
And how do we work together?
We have to figure out ways to work together. Of course it's a step. No empire on earth, and told you I loved history.
Yeah.
They didn't do it without building. If you spend on infrastructure, that builds your country. And then, of course, you have to collect taxes. So that elevates everybody.
Gotta love
so
taxes.
even though I hear up and down that this tax or that tax, I kind of remind them we have to pay for these programs too, guys. It is important that we collect, but collect them fairly, equitably. Tax, if there's more going to corporations than unfair to the middle class, let's make adjustments. Let's study ways that we could make taxes equitable. Are we going to erase them? No. I was talking to somebody earlier today, and he said, I like Republicans, they lowered my taxes. And then that was it. Yet on other talking points, he was Democratic. And I said, just because you think they lowered your taxes.
Yeah, it's like one of those things, like you challenge those types of things. Like, because to be honest, depending on your level of income, it could go either way. So
who's the bulk of the taxes going to go to? The middle class. Well, we have to make sure that there's more middle class.
Throughout your life, what have been some of the big issues that you're most proud of?
I'm proud of my work with the unions. I really do. I'm very proud of my work, always focusing on the environment. And I did that with OSHA. EPA developed programs that are still used today, that machinery that's used all over the world. So I am very proud of that. I'm proud of that. And then I'm disappointed that, is that enough? No, it's not enough, because, it's, in my little world, I could go to a convention with the painting and coating industry. That's great, and it's wonderful because it's a very important industry, but it worries me more now because of my grandchildren. Your child, what is going to be happening? And it's happening at a rapid pace, much more accelerated than what we thought before, much more. And I've been reading science magazines and journals ever since college.
Well, and I think that you talk about your grandkids, your kids, and one of the things that have been happening over the past couple of years is violence. A lot of shootings all over the place. So what steps would you take or would you assist with to helping really curb the violence in these communities, or just
Well, definitely there should be, again, I focus on that education part. If everybody is working, productive work, it's going to help. Better jobs, better paying, where single parents can afford the care. We do have to increase, it's not anymore K through 12, or K through at least 2 years of college too. I think that it's also preschool to help these parents deal with that. I think education is so important that that'll help with the issue of violence, because we have to do that. And then we have to do serious reform to our penal system, our gun control, our prisons. And I've written about that many, I love to write, so I do a blog, even though, I'm probably the first reader and I read it a lot. But people look at it, and I think it's important. So, yeah, I would address it that way. You see, I focus on education a lot, because even if you're poor, dirt poor, that book can mean so much to you and can elevate you. Abraham Lincoln was not rich.
No, he was not. He became a lawyer. Actually, lost his first campaign, and then next one he moved. So, and you look at the difference of history and the people that educated themselves
just by reading a book. And now, I don't want to go that far. We have to elevate the children, because an educated person is going to know. He's going to learn. Even at first, maybe we have to take on that responsibility in our schools. At the same time, help these parents deal with the funding and the money. At the same time, the Infrastructure Act or the Deficit Reduction Act, bringing more money in, and making these jobs meaningful for them, not just meaningful for the corporations, meaningful for the workers.
You talked a little bit about what you've kind of done in the past, business owner, kind of working with negotiations and stuff like that. What do you think, when we talk about all these issues, education as one of them, what do you think that your biggest professional mistake was, that you have that mistake you've made along the way that you've learned from?
Not getting into politics when I was in my 50s.
Okay.
Honestly, I think at 55 would have been the time to pull out of my company. We built that, I did that, but then you stay in. I wasn't that, not that I wasn't caring or motivated. You're busy. You're always busy. You gotta work. You gotta work at it. And probably I do regret that. I don't regret, like, I didn't visit all the ancient sites that I want to visit or things like that. I regret not becoming more active politically earlier on.
Do you feel that you talked about this was the time to do it? Other than
there is one other time.
Well,
I can't wait till I'm 80.
Yeah, well, you never know. We have guys that are 80 years old in politics still doing what they do best.
Well, so far I'm pretty bright. I want to do it. My brain is still working. So
and that's great. And we talk about life and in general about doing good things. What challenges do you see moving forward in the Appalachian District and the 6th District?
Everything that we talked about.
Well, no, in regards to federal funding being pulled away through either legislation not being passed or troubles in D.C. with coming together.
Okay, the money that's already been spent and programs that are spent, they can't take it away because it's there.
Right.
It was already, when you're building that structure, the intel, it's there. And we got to make sure we do trade agreements the right way so that doesn't take away from one country and hurt the other. These monies are there. Will they be sustainable? You're very right, because it could be another administration. It could decide, well, let's pool that program. And that's where we need to get more legislators, Republican and Democrats, that they have to understand that we have to work for the people, for the country, for the nation. Energy independence is very easy, and jobs are very easy, but these monies that have already been committed and saved, got to keep it there, got to keep the focus on, got to keep the foot on the pedal. And if I could do that for 8 years, because 8-9 years be it, be 80, then maybe I'll retire. I want to be a term legislator.
Well, and they've talked about putting maximum terms on congressmen and senators. So that's...
I've heard good things and bad. I've heard people tell me there is a term. It's called the election.
True.
And I thought about it. Do we force people to do a term after 3 terms? Certainly, the president. I think it's good that we limited it to. I think congressionally 4 years is good. I would have said, I know everybody wants to focus on that 3, but I think 3 maybe is too short, and I think the 2-year term is too short. I think that should be 3 years.
Well, it's funny.
Because they're wasting too much. Look at the time. It's wasted money.
Well,
time.
Well, I make the joke that as soon as you're elected on that date,
you're running again.
The following January, you're going to be running. You're going out and running because you're up for election in another year and a half.
Yeah.
So it's like, is there really a compromise in how many years that looks like? Because senators is 6 years.
Yeah. Well, the Senate was supposed to be the deliberative branch of government. That was different than Congress, and supposed to be the common lay person, and it should be, not lifetime guys. Again, I think we should examine terms, but not just to do it, just say 3-year term and you're out.
Right.
Because if someone has something valuable, he wants to get elected again, or those are good things. I don't see any disadvantage. Hey, Anthony, change the subject.
Not a problem. and we look at that.
We beat that one.
Yeah. We look at that, and you've been talking about that, and we've been talking a lot of variety of issues. And the one thing I'll ask is, you've been, like you said, you've been going to a lot of town halls and a lot of things. What do you think the biggest takeaway of going up and down the district that you can name?
And that ties into that term and legislating. It's really seeing everybody and talking to them. See, I never experienced. I was in my business. I'm seeing business guys. I'm in the union. I'm seeing union guys. I live in Youngstown. I see the Youngstown people. I'm learning to meet more of them, but it's really getting to see like that farm bureau meeting that I went to. To me, that was an eye opener, because I saw it different. And go to another area where they're rural, and yeah, that I think that's pretty good. I like that, and seeing what their issues are.
I appreciate.
And they're not that far off. We all care, and we're not that far off. We really have the same issue. And when I'm talking to them, I mean, what's so hard about understanding that we care about each other?
It's a fair point. I appreciate you taking time, Louis. Thank you for stopping in. We appreciate you coming, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Louis Lynch, the nominee for the 6th District for the state of Ohio. At the end of each show, I like to have some fun with my guests.
I thought you were having fun with me.
I have fun. This is more fun. We look at these are just some fun questions. It could be, the answer can be either personal or professional. Doesn't matter. It's totally up to you.
I'm a big proponent. Are we off the air?
No. Oh, we're still going.
I'm a big proponent of nuclear energy.
Interesting.
For our power generation. I'm a huge proponent. Of course, state of the art. And these are things that we could be doing that ties into my environmental issue.
Well, and I think so. Then this will be great to do. What is your best memory in life? Personal or professional, doesn't matter.
Oh my God, the birth of each child.
Okay.
And those are memories that we take back with us, grandchildren especially, because I think I can always say certainly, and I talk about that, and I'm sure your parents would say that I'm a better grandparent than I was a father.
Well, because you, like my mom says, I spoil your kid and then throw her back to you, and I'm like, thanks.
Because you're a dad. Where are you going? I got to go to town. I got to go to work. You got to work. You got
Right.
Where I'm a grandparent, for the Greeks, I'm Bapu.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bapu's here. Yaya is here.
Right.
They could spill wine all over the carpet, the white carpet. I don't care. I just say, it's okay, it's okay.
Well,
We'll clean it up.
Nothing wrong with
I mean,
that.
and that's too, it was my granddaughter. She's the oldest. She's now 16 going on 26. She was younger at that time, and we were looking at because I was looking at an environmental program on TV about climate change and all that. And then she said, Bapu, well, that happened to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, wow. I turned off the channel because I didn't want to scare her.
Right.
And that, it hurts me. I got to make sure that it doesn't happen to her.
It's understandable. What's your best accomplishment?
I think overall, just you're going to say a body of work? I never did it all myself. I'm good at bringing people together. My brothers, my partners when we were building machines. I think overall that they know that we were always doing the right thing and paying people properly. I would never take advantage of a worker. That's it. I'm also proud co-owner of Penguin City Beer.
There you go.
So I think now that was not started by me. That was my daughter and her husband,
Mm-hmm.
and then my one son and another partner that I've helped him in his business. And then
They're doing a lot of great things over
they
there.
dragged me in.
They're doing a lot of good things over there.
I really, really am proud of what they're doing.
Okay. Who's your role model?
If you look on my website, there's a few people that I've read their histories, and you'd have to look on the website. It's
Okay.
like Lincoln, Gandhi,
Okay.
Martin Luther King, mostly people that I feel when I'm in my history and studying, things that they did were important. Like Socrates, if you get into the Greek. There's no one role model.
Okay.
History defines us as there's so many role models in civilizations that we don't know about.
So then this may follow up to that answer that you just said, that if you could meet one person or several, kind of past or present, who would it be and why?
Oh, geez, I would love to sit at a wine symposium, that was a drinking party, with Socrates.
Interesting.
Because he, actually, many of his writings, and he didn't write himself, became our religion, became the Christian religion. I would love to sit down with some of during the Islamic Golden Age, with many of them. Sit down with Confucius and actually sit down and see what he was talking about. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And I don't know 1/10 of the history that I should, 1/10, 1/5.
And I'm a history guy, and I like history, so I try to read it or watch as much as I can. So I get it. But I appreciate you taking time, Louis. I wish you nothing but the best. Thank you for joining us. We hope to have more of these interviews, and to watch other podcasts, events, or even some of our great stories, please go to spanningtheneed.com. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.